Welcome to episode 297 of the Grip Strip podcast, the all the NFL you need and Dakar 2 edition of the Grip Strip podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host. Still reeling from the debacle that took place on Saturday night for a little bit, but then of course looking at Katie Mock's Phelps and her match on Mondays, but that's a whole other thing. But somebody who was on the other side, definitely much happier, is, of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and, of course, my co-host and good buddy, the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, gentleman and a scholar. His name is Joshua Fine. His Jacksonville Jaguars get to host the Buffalo Bills on Sunday afternoon. Personally thought they should have been on Monday night, but that would have been a box office game or Sunday Night Football, but the NFL sought other things. So, but it sounds like you're going to that game, right?
Yeah, I am going to that game. I found something earlier today to go. Somehow managed to find some tickets that were, decently priced. For the market and everything, and definitely below what they had been selling at all day. So, yeah, definitely a better option for that. So, yeah, I just found a single ticket and everything. So, yeah, we'll be there on Sunday and be able to go. So, yeah, excited for that and everything. So, yeah, welcome to Jacksonville for all the Buffalo people who are actually transplants. By the way, we'll throw that in there. Most of these people are transplants from elsewhere and stuff like that. So, yeah, ready to get into it. Yeah, excited for these NFL playoffs here, and of course everything else motorsports wise that's happening here in January.
Yeah, we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about the NFL. We're going to talk about the playoffs. We'll make some picks, actually, probably. That's what I'll add in there on the outline. We'll make some picks like we usually do during the racing season. We'll make that segment here. Also talk about Black Monday and Tuesday for coaches and GMs. We're on 7 jobs now in the coaching realm in terms of head coaches. We have a bunch of coordinator jobs open too. So talk about that. Kind of can get a quick glimpse at the first few picks of the NFL draft as well. And we'll talk about Steve Phelps. Discovery did old Stevie in, and I guess he probably should have went and ran off to the PGA Tour when he had a chance. But Phelps, maybe he was one of those people that Tony was talking about way back when that was diametrically opposed to what everybody who was in the industry was saying and the fans were saying. But we'll talk about his ouster. They should get rid of SOD too, but I think he's too deep because I think he's probably licked Mike Helton's balls and ass, and that's probably part of the reason why he has an existence. But get into that, all the NFL. We'll talk about the Dakar Rally. Formula E will actually be on this weekend at Mexico City. Chili Bowl's coming up soon. Got some other news in regards to NHRA's 75th year and the 75 greatest drivers they've had. We'll do the picks, as I said, NFL wild card weekend picks. Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing, gaming, and sim segment. We'll call it a day. So yeah, the news that came out, and first before we move forward, Michael Printup, who had been a long time president of Watkins Glen International Raceway, was a president of the SVRA, Sports Car Vintage Racing Association, and which runs a Trans Am series. He had passed away last week. He's somebody who was well known on the socials in LinkedIn land for racing fans. Somebody who understood the sport very, very well, and obviously after his long time involvement with ISC and working at Watkins Glen International Raceway was able to connect with Scott Borchetta and SVRA and that whole deal, that hullabaloo, as or hubbadoo, as Mad Dog Russo would say. But not trying to make a joke there. I mean, Michael Printup was one of the best at what he was doing or what he did, and he'll be missed for sure. We need more leaders like that understand, that care about the sport. Like we talked about last week on episode 296 of the GSP. But yeah, I mean, the big news of today was Steve Phelps let go, whatever. He had been, he joined NASCAR in 2005. Wow, that is crazy. So he had been with them for a good 20 years. And, I mean, the reality of the world, we can talk about a lot of the things. He had been a face of the sport for a while and taken a bigger role in recent years, going, and they said that among his most important priorities has been welcoming all fans into NASCAR. That's interesting. His other achievements include the integration of NASCAR's landmark merger with ISC, which is their own thing anyway, launching the record-setting next-gen race car, many other accomplishments that position the sport for continued success, which they're saying like with media partners. So that was his quote there. So they basically, SOD is going to take over his role in the interim, and I would assume that would probably be a pretty, at least for the first few months of this season. I don't think we're going to hear anything about that. But I mean, when it comes down to it for Phelps and SOD, we talked about those two guys a lot for the whole entire time that we've done this show. The good, the bad, the indifferent about what the sport is. We said that last episode ad nauseum. But the thing that he did that I guess he didn't think was ever going to come out, and I believe should be part of the reason why they should be making further changes at NASCAR, a la getting rid of SOD, is the fact that in discovery during this lawsuit, the NASCAR lawsuit, we saw what these guys thought of the other side, meaning what these guys thought of the owners and some of the people that were involved in these negotiations. O'Donnell has been in it a long time. He's been around, and I think that's fundamentally why. And I think he was brought in by whatever, he knows somebody, or I think he was a Helton guy. I mean, I've never understood what the point of Steve O'Donnell was. I've never thought he's done anything of great significance. Maybe they'll say, just like they said with Phelps, that he has. But I look at when Phelps came into the sport, 2005. And like Josh, you came in, you were in and around that era. That's when you started kind of watching the sport. That was peak TV, first TV contract, first however many years of the Fox NBC contract. NASCAR at that point was probably at their highest in terms of fan base, in terms of reach, in terms of connection. They were selling out Indianapolis pretty good when Tony won Indy. Like they were selling out 1.5 mile racetracks. This is when the guy came in. We're 20 years later, and they got tarps around 3/4 of Indianapolis. They are lucky to have 100,000 people at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Brickyard 400. They had even moved the race to the road course. Chicagoland was closed. They only just brought it back because they got rid of the street course. You want to talk about growth of a sport and how he's helped do all these things. He was part of bringing in this Gen 7 car. Okay. The fact is, Jim France wanted a GT3 car basically out there as a stock car. Jim France owns the whole thing. They got a combination GT3 slash supercars car running ovals, and we've seen over the last few years that it basically is not the right. It doesn't fit. At some point, there has to be an acknowledgement, and it's not. And I don't think. I mean, Discovery, and that's what I will go to you, Jeff. They got rid of Phelps because he got caught talking about that inbred dipshit hillbilly Richard Childress, who's long since past his usefulness in terms of relevance in the Cup Series. He's been lucky that he got Tyler Reddick. And then Kyle Busch had no options. Because ever since Kevin Harvick wanted, it's the same thing as Dale Jr. Dale Jr. wanted half of DEI. Teresa said no. He left and went to Hendrick, and that was a great thing, and it worked out in the end. It didn't work out for his dad's organization, but it worked out for him. Kevin Harvick, there was a report I saw a couple days ago where he was willing to stay at our RCR if he had been given ownership in the 29 car. When they said no, he went to Tony, and he was a pretty damn good driver anyway, and he had a really good career, and he had won a lot of races anyway, and I think he probably was a Hall of Fame level driver. He'd have been a Hall of Fame guy, probably wouldn't have been first ballot, it'd have been a few years. He became a first ballot Hall of Famer driving for Tony. So you look at things like that, and you look at people and decisions like that, and they made Steve Phelps, they're going to make Steve Phelps the fall guy, which is fine. But do you really believe that after, even with him leaving, that there are people in place that actually that truly disagree with the same mindset or mentality that he had? Those same people are there. They just need a fall guy to appease the LCD part of this fan base. And to me, that's what this is. First of all, I mean, he's a douche. Fine. Do I really think he added anything? I look at what's happened to the sport over the past 20 years, and it's done this. We're more like IndyCar, and I love IndyCar racing. We're more like on the floor with IndyCar than we are. And they allowed Formula One to not only go and take like short attention span viewership and come into America, go to different cities, of course, being Miami is a parking lot, but Vegas, and you have 3 races in America, and 2 of them are box office. I mean, all 3 of them have their own box office appeal to whatever. I'll never understand people wanting to watch cars going around in a parking lot. But, that's what Miami is. And Stephen Ross owns it and stuff, so it's whatever. But Vegas I get, and I get COTA. What has Steve Phelps done? We ran around to Chicago in the park. Okay. We brought back Chicagoland. We went back to Homestead after they decided to go to one of the they ruin a racetrack, which is what they did to Phoenix, and make that the championship. I know Kenny Wallace said that, better days or happy days are here again, healing and all this bullshit. Phelps was made the fall guy, but do you really believe that NASCAR truly is on the right path, even with Phelps being removed?
No. It's, I mean, yeah, sure, there's things that, look interesting now that the lawsuit's been settled, but, it's still fairly much a retraction, and, to even add on, you said we're kind of on the level of IndyCar, yeah, numbers-wise, the NASCAR is still, the, total audience is still greater than what IndyCar is, but Fox, it looks more heavily invested in IndyCar right now than NASCAR. NASCAR seems like an afterthought, and you're seeing Pato Award. Obviously they're promoting the Texas race at Dallas Cowboys Arlington Stadium there, right? But you got Pato Award on Fox with Jerry Jones, things like that. You're not seeing I don't know who's a good personality in NASCAR like Bubba Wallace or Joey Logano or even the champion Kyle Larson or anybody like that. You're not seeing them get really promoted to that level or anything like that during another mainstream sports show. Yeah, Fox has the Daytona 500, but they're not really showing. I mean, they'll probably show the Daytona 500 some, but you can tell the difference in what Fox is, how they're promoting IndyCar currently right now. Even with the Indy 500 months away still, they're putting more effort in promoting that, where they have like these little like blurbs for NASCAR. They don't really like explain or do anything and everything. So that's one thing right there, is that kind of shows you the how they've managed things for NASCAR, right? And then now obviously there's been a lot of retraction. I mean, you mentioned all these other racetracks like Indy, lower attendance for NASCAR compared to the 90s and early 2000s. Losing different tracks like Chicago. I mean, Kentucky also, right? Even though that's an SMI track, right? It's basically now a parking lot for clunkers after COVID happened and all that stuff. So that place is basically looks like it's in decent condition, but still it's not on the schedule anymore. Auto Club is gone, and that looks like that's not going to turn into the short track project that they thought it would be. So that was a huge miscalculation there, and now I mean, you're basically having a racetrack or a property of a racetrack surrounded by warehouses and data centers. So that's probably never gonna turn into a short track, because there's just too much infrastructure already built around it where you're not really gonna have anything there. So you may as well just like sell off the rest of the land there, because it's probably just not going to happen anymore. And then even Daytona, like look at Daytona from where it was, before 2016. Like, I mean, it looks nice. Like, from the outside, like the facilities are nice and everything. The chairs are comfortable and all that stuff. It's huge. It's on the front stretch, but the total attendance. I mean, there's no more backstretch grandstands anymore. And the attendance is capped at like 105, 110,000 after probably having close to 175,000 at least for the Daytona 500. So yeah, obviously, I mean, part of it is yes, the boom and all that stuff that they had late 90s, early 2000s, but obviously they failed to kind of take hold of that, I guess, because obviously they started making changes with the chase, now the playoffs, etc., the car of tomorrow, all that stuff that didn't work out, and lost fans because of that. And yeah, I mean, I think the lawsuit, obviously, I mean, it's kind of the fall from the lawsuit. I think kind of expected that Steve Phelps probably, because he definitely looked like the biggest douche out of all of them, besides Jim France. Obviously, there's not enough on him, Jim France, to at least communications wise to show the kind of character. But for Steve Phelps, obviously he was the kind of the guy that kind of just seemed like a huge a-hole to based on the communications that they were having, and how he viewed, like, obviously viewing Richard Childress as a dumb redneck. Yeah, maybe that's true, right? But then like you get caught saying that, it makes you look really bad, right? Especially if you're the one supposed to be leading the sport. So, it's definitely not it wasn't a good look for him there. So, it just shows kind of like you said with Steve O'Donnell, Steve Phelps. Like, I mean, where did these guys come from? Like, I mean, these guys are all like marketing guys that have all been in suits. Like, where were they in racing before making it to NASCAR? Like, okay, I'm looking at his Wikipedia bio here. He worked in New York City for American Home Products as a brand manager for Chef Boyardee and later at Guinness. Then he worked in the NFL as a marketing manager and got up to vice president of corporate marketing. And then he was recruited by Casey Wasserman to work at the Wasserman Media Group, which I think has connections to the Clinton Foundation or something like that with the Clintons. But he has then after that, then he left to go join NASCAR, vice president of corporate marketing. So he's basically just a marketing guy until they elected him as executive vice president, chief executive officer, NASCAR president, and then commissioner now. So like, where is the racing actual, like, was he in racing? I mean, it doesn't look like it. He's just a marketing guy. He's a suit guy. And I mean, I think the same thing for Steve O'Donnell, though I think O'Donnell's been around the sport a bit longer.
I just went and wikied him, and because I've never
Yeah.
liked him. The guy's from New Jersey, supposedly, originally. Never even heard of the college he went to. Why did I do
Oh,
that?
Rollins College. That's
Yeah,
a private college in Orlando.
yeah, I've never heard of that place until just now. Um, the why did I do that? Show. What is it? Oh God! All right, so I messed up something. I clicked on the wrong thing. So yeah, he's been a part of NASCAR since '96. So yeah, they're never getting rid of him.
Yeah.
So he's been there over 30 years now. So
Yeah.
or it'll be 30 years. Oh, 6, 16. Yes, this is 30. So yeah, they're definitely not getting rid of him.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, S. Phelps is definitely not a NASCAR person, and like to your point, it makes it where like you're not going to you would definitely believe that he's not somebody who understands the sport, but it seems like that they put way too much emphasis on those kind of people,
Yeah.
and instead of putting the emphasis on you know, instead of putting it on, and there's no real, and even like in O'Donnell's case, yeah, he was with, I think, honestly, like what I assessed as like he's a Helton person, and I think that's what it is. I think fundamentally he worked under Helton, and that's part of what that's part of why he's been Teflon for all these years, for no matter how many bad takes or calls or beliefs that he's had, that he's Teflon that way. But I also don't think he knows what he's talking about either. And so, I mean, Jim France doesn't talk to the media, doesn't bother to, and I think that's part of the problem. He has somebody. There's a difference with how he runs his two series. He of course runs IMSA, but he has John Doonan, and he is widely, almost universally respected across, not only with the fans love him. I heard from one of my friends that I race with, the sim racing place. Him and his wife went and was at a restaurant, and they're like, "Who's this guy who keeps on getting mobbed?" And everyone's going up to him. That's John Dune, and he was at dinner around the corner from Watkins Glen. This is a fan who didn't know who the hell the guy was. And I'm like, who is this? And he's texting me. He's asking me, who is this guy? Blah, 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 whatever. His wife goes and snipes a picture, and then I give him the whole information. Then they're like, yeah, you got fans, you got team members, you got manufacturers. He worked for Mazda, of course. He was the head of Mazda Motorsports. You got all these different, you got TV. He's basically universally respected. That is the kind of person you need. You need somebody people want to actually do business with and or want to work with. There's a reason why IMSA, with whatever their TV coverage is and whatever, they have like 17, 18 manufacturers involved in IMSA. It isn't by accident. Granted, I guess sports cars in its own way has a different reach, but you need somebody like him that has a NASCAR connection to, if you want another manufacturer to come in that isn't Dodge or Ford or Chevy or Toyota. If you want somebody else to come in, if you want to actually have like some sort of balance of performance with different engines and things, like it's possible. There are pieces, but I don't know. I think it's all a cover for greater issues that NASCAR really has. And they're not fixing those in a manner that is conducive to a lot of the fans. And I don't care. They can go and release news every day or every other day like Herman said they're going to do. As long as they keep the Gen 7 car, as long as they keep, making the prices so high for going to these races, when you consider sponsorship the way sponsorship is, and now that, now they're treating them like they're a franchise model and that they're going to be worth like $100 million a piece. What is it to Carl Long, the Carl Longs of the world and regular people to show up when you're not going to pay out?
Yeah.
So We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
One more thing on that I did
Yeah.
want to say. So, um, yeah, I mean, I remember reading like somewhere, like during the lawsuits, reading on Reddit, and I think someone on Reddit had said like the lawsuit kind of shows that all the people working at NASCAR, like they don't really have any experience in racing outside of NASCAR, and kind of goes back to my other point that I was saying earlier, like where's these guys' experience and everything coming from? And I mean, like, why haven't we hired back, like, or I mean, why hasn't NASCAR hired back, like, people like Jay Fry from IndyCar, right? Because Jay Fry was in IndyCar, or not in, well, he is, yeah, he's in IndyCar, some involvement there right now, or
With Ray Hall,
was,
Letterman, Lanigan now.
right, right. And I mean, he was involved in IndyCar for a bit now, I mean, was
Ran
on
for the series,
the
worked for the series.
yeah, and he wasn't involved in NASCAR prior to that, right? With I guess what used to be MB Motorsports that
MB2
merged into
Motorsports, MB,
DEI.
yeah, that connected. He was connected with Rick Hendrick, of course. He was a marketing guy, and I think he was connected with Hendrick, and then I think that's where the crux of that with what do you call the guys that Jay Fry was with those now the MB2, those two Bowers and a couple other guys is why that team came off. But yeah, it's a great point. But keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, at that point, and then I mean, you look at what IndyCar is doing right now. I mean, with their officiating, right? They hired Ray Evernham, right? Who, I mean, yeah, it doesn't have any like major open wheel experience or anything like that, and they hired two other auto executives for their official, I guess, independent officiating board. So, just the overall point there, you've got to hire other people from racing to figure out like how to rebuild the sport and everything like that. And like NASCAR should, Formula One's obviously exploding right in popularity. I mean, why hasn't NASCAR like tried to hire away somebody from Formula One or something like that to figure out how to get things back in the right direction, that could actually capture the attention of the people. What
No,
are you
Gunther.
saying?
I said Gunther Steiner,
Oh
but
yeah,
I just thought about it, and then he owns Tech 3, the MotoGP team now. He's part of that, so that's MotoGP's game.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, just stuff like that in general. I mean, you have all these other series that are growing, like IMSA, which is basically owned by NASCAR. Like it feels different being at an IMSA race than it does a NASCAR race. Right, there's just a different energy there. I mean, the NASCAR races that I went to, like, I mean, Phoenix seemed to have pretty good energy. Daytona the last couple of years, but overall, just like even being at the Rolex 24 versus the Daytona 500, like it just felt like there's different energy at the Rolex 24 than the Daytona 500. So, there's obviously that shows you just the job that the Steves and whoever else, Jim France, etc., they should replace him with Ben Kennedy or something like that, like Jeff Gluck suggested last month. Like, yeah, that's just an example of the job that they've done in the last 20 years.
I mean, the reality of the world is Ben Kennedy drove, and then Pete cratered Kenzie Rustin's career because she dumped him for Daniel Hemrick, but then she wanted to actually be with a race car driver. She didn't bank on the fact that he was going to kill her career, but he's been groomed for this job, and he's been trying to take angles and do certain things. And I think, what's interesting, I didn't think about that, and it's basically what they might end up doing this where they they might end up having SOD as a commish, and then they might keep him as president because of his ties with Helton, and then they might make Ben Kennedy the commissioner, and then he would be the face, and then he's a family guy. Not Family Guy like, Stewie and whatever Family Guy, but the fact is the France family has representation. And then he understands the sport in the sense that he comes from it. It was his dad or his mom and and then also, like his uncle and, his grandfather and great grandfather and whatever. But like that might be a thing. And I think that, I didn't think about that until you just brought it up. So it's a good point, really good point. And That's probably what they're going to do. To be fair, they need to, for all these years. I mean, even when BZF was doing his stupid crap, there were people that were behind there at least for a while. They had Robin Pemberton there that wasn't from the family but understood the sport. You had other people in the sport still. So I think that probably is the angle. All right. So we go from that. We will move into the NFL. So, Josh, I'll let you go first because you had a positive result on Sunday, and you were able to, before I was, because of our feed differences, see where you were going to be ending up on playoff weekend. But your Jaguars ended up opening a can to end the season. Liam Cohen and James Gladstone, you were able to hit on both of those, which is a huge win. I think that's as big of a win as anything. I mean, the fact that you made Trevor Lawrence look like what everyone thought he was going to look like too. And that's with the absence of the guy that you traded up for multiple picks, the number 2 overall draft pick, the Heisman Trophy winner. And you also had why am I forgetting his name? For your number 1 pick this year.
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. And then Brian Thomas Jr., who's had a regression. In the end, you were able to trade for a wide receiver, and you were able to find another one. So now you have Jacoby Myers. Is that right? Yeah, Jacoby Myers. And Parker Washington, along with Brian Thomas Jr., and now you have this huge receiving core, and you're probably one of, if not the hottest team going into the playoffs. So what are your thoughts after a successful end to the season for your Jags?
Yeah, I mean, I think 8 in a row, I mean, it's a huge winning streak to go into the playoffs and be the 3rd seed. I mean, man, it shows you how tough the AFC has been this year when, everybody but the Steelers had 11 wins. I mean, that's a pretty tough playoff field on, one side of the conference. But yeah, for Jacksonville, closing out, I mean, Titans have been bad the whole year, so I didn't really think that game was in much of a question. I mean, early on, I mean, it seemed the Jags' first drive they had a bit of a struggle, and then the game was tied 7-7, but then the Jags just scored 41 unanswered. I mean, I was at my parents' house watching it on TV with them. Even I probably should have gone to the game, but I guess I'm going to the playoff game instead. But my dad is like, oh, they need to score 41. And I guess maybe the prognosticating comes from somewhere because they scored 40, they scored 41. And I was like, oh, they scored 41 like you said they would. So, they, I mean, scored every which way possible there. They got banged up a little bit too in the middle of it. Parker Washington got knocked down once. And I think Cole Van Lanen, the offensive lineman that he just re-signed to a big deal, got injured a bit, but everybody seems like they're okay, they're healthy, so that's good. Glad to not come away with any major injuries throughout the season. So I mean, the only one that was really significant injury wise was we've had a couple of injuries, but I think obviously the biggest one that was most impactful that kind of led to the Jags improving was Travis Hunter there with the injury that he suffered in the bye week on practice, or coming off the bye week in practice. So, the Jacoby Myers trade unlocked the offense because they needed a guy who could, do the intermediate stuff, do the dirty work in the middle of the field, and catch balls. And that kind of allowed, freed up Brian Thomas to do what he's really good at, which is be that vertical deep threat. And you'd think, obviously Brian Thomas, with his skill set, that they would really feature him in this offense, but for what he's what he's trying to do. Obviously, they're taking him away, and I think that's allowed the opportunities for Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington. Is there teams I think are focusing on covering number 7, that it opens up the offense for for number 3 and number 11 there, and even Britton Strange tight end there. So yeah, really solid group of pass catchers there that are just able to carry water and chop wood. So the running game hasn't been quite as good, but I wonder if that's just because the looks they're getting on offense, teams stacking the box. So the Jags are being dared to throw, and they're able to work that successfully. And they've still been able, like, even with that, I mean, I think the running game's good enough where they've been able to pick up yards when they need it. It just hasn't been as dominant as what it was like kind of earlier in the season. So obviously this playoff game, the Jaguars going up against the Bills. The Bills have the 31st ranked rushing defense, and Jacksonville, I think, is like 14th in rushing or something like that. So obviously, it will be a huge game for the Bills, or for the Jags, to go up against a defense that just hasn't been that good at stopping the run this season. And of course, the Bills' number 1 rushing offense going up against the number 1 rushing defense in the Jaguars. Obviously, I think some of those are kind of lopsided because it turned into passing contests, and teams don't run the ball as much when they're behind by at least 2 scores there. So but even so, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's been one of the best running backs in the NFL, and they held him to under 75 yards both times that they played him. So for Jacksonville, I think as long as he can shut down the run, I think you can keep Josh Allen contained and everything. So yeah, I think it should be a pretty interesting game there. So yeah, obviously, all of it kind of came together after that loss against Houston, where they had a 29-10 lead and then ended up losing, giving up a massive comeback there. I think it was 29-30 initially, before final score ended up being 29-36 because of the final play. Trevor Lawrence got the ball knocked out of his hands, and they returned it for a touchdown. But and even that one, they could have come back because Trevor put him in position, but they had a penalty that cost them 5 yards there, and then they weren't able to get down the field. So, I mean, yeah, the Jags have been resilient all season for the most part. So, if they do go all the way, right, I mean, I think the matchup would probably be the Jaguars, the Seahawks, the 49ers, if you guys can get past Philly or the Rams. So, obviously, we handled you guys in Santa Clara. The Seahawks, they kind of got manhandled, and then in Jacksonville, and then the Rams kind of took care of business against the Jaguars in London. But I think that one was more of a case of the offense having issues converting on 4th down, or failing to convert on 4th down a bunch, and then the offense failed to be able to do stuff against the Rams in that game. So that game probably could have been closer if they didn't make so many mistakes there. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting. So I mean, I think they can go all the way for sure. So be really excited to see how Sunday and the rest of these NFL playoffs play out. But I think the biggest thing overall is the resilience and the fact that Liam Cohen giving them an edge. I think Trevor Lawrence kind of didn't really give off that type of mindset before, because obviously seemed like a very chill, kind of relaxed guy, obviously. But it seems like if you've seen the pregame walk-up videos that they post on social media, this guy they circled up in the tunnel before walking out for the Broncos game, and Trevor is like, I don't give a shit about their defense that they say is so good. We're gonna go up against them and beat their ass. And it's so hilarious to hear that, because Trevor, obviously is a religious guy. He's got Bible verses and stuff on his wristband and everything, and then at the same time he's like, yeah, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna beat their ass because we're a fucking good team. So I like that type of edge. So it's funny to see that. But I think the edge that Liam Cohen, obviously keep your name out of my effing mouth, that he did against Robert Saleh there, and the type of mindset energy that he's given off, I think, is really rubbed off on the rest of the team. And of course, small market team, after what the Broncos coach had said against them in the press conference leading up to that game. Yeah, I think he's the perfect coach for the team. Definitely embodies the mindset that this team is needed for a long time. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out.
And it's something that, you've been waiting a while for because there's a lot of lean years and a lot of bad times, bad coaching, bad GMs and stuff. And I think there is a symmetry to that because you got rid of Trent Baalke and we just to get James Gladstone and get Liam Cohen. The Niners finally got rid of Trent Baalke after they went basically to the abyss of football after losing or having that whole fight with Jim Harbaugh. And we sucked so bad for 3 years that we were the laughingstock of the NFL. And from that came Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. And to this day, the Niners still have Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. So maybe there is a possibility that might be similar for you guys, for your duo you have there. And that stability, which is something Jacksonville has definitely wanted and needed. I'll say that on the side of the 49ers, in a must-win game and scenario, it was one of their worst performances of the year. They had no answers on either side of the ball. They allowed Seattle to basically dictate with the run. And their defense was in Brock's kitchen the whole entire day. Pleasance is a, journeyman tackle for a reason. I would have thought that Trent would have at least tried to make and try to go out there, knowing what it was worth. You don't have to theoretically, because they're not like an amazing pass rushing team, but they do have a good defense. Obviously, Kittle wasn't at 100%. It was obvious, but he went out there to play because he's George Kittle. Pearsall got hurt again, and so he's just basically white Deebo Samuel. But his girlfriend's hot, so I guess that's what keeps him from getting more heat. But they didn't do shit on offense. They had one chance late in the third quarter there, late in the game. They were in the red zone. They had one really outstanding drive, and then tip ball went through the hands of CMC, ends up being an interception, and that was the game. They couldn't stop him on defense. Injuries, D. Winters is hurt for the year now. I mean, everybody and their mother's hurt. I think people were going and sending tweets to Patrick Willis to see if he was available. And that's where it's like, well, yeah, if Phillip Rivers can come back, you can come back, suit up. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'd take Patrick Willis right now over a lot of people in the NFL, but favorite defensive player of all time for me. But yeah, that game just took everything out of me. And then after that, I was like, and then knowing that, Arizona actually kept it close for a while, kind of kept me on the edge where I was like, there might be a chance. And then, of course, Arizona, being Arizona, shit the bed. And now the Niners have a likely scenario that involves going to Philly, going to Seattle, and then Chicago, or in some way, shape, or form. That would have to be the case for them to get back to play at home in a Super Bowl, which, with all the injuries they got going on, I don't feel great about their chances. We'll talk about it later, but this whole playoff is so wide open. I would say that among the 14 teams, I would say that there's a high likelihood. There's probably about, I would say, at least 10 of those teams, 11 maybe, that could pull it off. I do include the Niners in that, but it's very tenuous. But there are a lot of flaws for a lot of these teams. So it's like, it's something to see. If you can get hot, it matters. They were hot. They were running on a winning streak. But I think, to be fair, they were also in kind of doing it with smoke and mirrors last couple of weeks. Brock was playing out of his freaking mind against Indy, against the Bears. And that's essentially what you're gonna need him to go and like literally carry this team with no left tackle, no no first team, all pro left tackle. And then the record is jarring. When Trent Williams isn't on the field, they're just an absolute shit team, even if you have George Kittle out there. So exhibit A through Z is give him whatever he needs so that he can go out there and at least be out there, just so that you have that. And then we'll see what happens. Because Philly has proven all year that they're wildly inconsistent. They can switch it on and put up a bunch of points, but they can just as easily be stopped by teams that are not great. So who knows? Who really knows? But it just took a lot out of me. It made me question it's like, that's the way that, games it's like I've been on this like high for the last few weeks, especially with the holidays, and then that was just like that nut punch on Saturday night that I'm like, well, yeah, not only are the holidays done, but I'm like, they just, like, any real legitimate opportunity that I thought that the Niners had, I think just went out the door too. But, stranger things have happened in the NFL, so we will see with that. In terms of the trying to go and do that, what is that? Free and with the 19 current no, that's not what I was looking at. So we were looking, so the playoff matchups. So let's do playoff matchups. We'll make our picks though later. First matchup of the weekend will be Saturday, 4:30 on Fox. That'll be Rams going to Carolina, the 4-5 matchup. And then why is it that way? Okay. I don't understand why they're showing it that way. And then in the NFC, so they screwed that up. Oh, I see. And then the Packers and the Bears, a 2-7 matchup, will be on Prime on Saturday night. So somehow or another, if the Packers get off the deck and were able to pull something out of their butt, beat the Bears, they would be going to Seattle. Because I would venture to say the Rams, that they lost to the Panthers earlier this year, so there is that. Then on Sunday, 1:00 will be Bills going to the Jaguars. The 4:30 game, that'll be on CBS. The 4:30 game on Fox will be 49ers going to the Eagles. And then Sunday Night Football, for whatever reason, is Chargers and the Patriots. Almost like the NFL wants to force everyone to say Drake May is the MVP. I think that's literally what that is. And then the Texans will be going to Heinz Field. I don't care what it's called now. It's Heinz Field. To go and play Aaron in what might be his last game of his career. And there were times during that Sunday Night Football game that it seemed like it was going to be the last game of his career then. But it imploded there for Baltimore, which is a interesting segue to the Black Monday and Tuesday situation where John Harbaugh, 18 years, one Super Bowl win, over the Niners, of course, in the Harbaugh in the 2012 season, won 180 regular season games. But the notion is there's been a lot of underperformance with the years of Lamar Jackson. And after all these years, Steve Bisciotti decided to move forward they're going to keep, as my aunt calls. And they're going to keep DaCosta, of course, because that's one of the best scouting departments and GMs and whatever. But I mean, I think there's greater issues there than just the fact that they're getting rid of John Harbaugh. I think it's weird that, like, I think Lamar Jackson, I would question certain things about Lamar leading into this game, and how he's kind of behaved and handled himself this year, compared to other years. I forget which video I was watching earlier where they were making it. I think it was Florio who goes and says, was it like Denver way back when John Elway said it's either me or Dan Reeves, and what do you call the old owner? I'm forgetting, Pat Bolin or Pat, yeah, went and got rid of Dan Reeves, and that led to, I think, a year with the Jellyfish with Wade Phillips, and then that then led to Mike Shanahan. There might be that, but somebody of his ilk, somebody of his capabilities and what he's done over almost 2 decades of success, he probably becomes the prime candidate, and I would venture to say that the New York Giants are probably blowing up his phone because they need to have somebody like that. They've taken a lot of first-time head coaches over however many years since getting rid of Tom Coughlin, but you look at, they took a chance on Parcells and it worked, but then after that, it was a lot of bad. They got, what was it? I'm forgetting what the guy's name was that they went to the Super Bowl, Jim Fossil, because his brother is still in the league, John, as a special teams coordinator. Jim Fossil. Then after they got rid of Jim Fossil, I think it was hard. It was there was somebody there, I think, in between that, and then they went with Coughlin, and Coughlin was in bad shape, and then he changed some things, and then it changed to where now he's a Hall of Famer. But you have the Giants, of course. They got rid of Dable a while ago, but they still kept the GM. Cleveland got rid of Kevin Stefanski, but they kept Andrew Berry. You have the Atlanta Falcons got rid of both Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot, the GM. Arizona's gotten rid of Jonathan Gannon, but they didn't get rid of Austin Ford or whatever the hell his name is. Tennessee has kept their current GM, but they got rid of whoever their coach was. I forget what the hell his name was. And then, of course, the Raiders are keeping their GM in Spytek, and they have the number 1 overall pick, which for all intents and purposes everybody thinks and knows is going to be Fernando Mendoza. But they get rid of Pete Carroll, so now they're on their 3rd coach in 3 years. You have some of these other teams that have had a little bit more turnover. Cleveland had kept it, quiet for a few years with that. There's been a lot of turnover, a lot of BS going on there. For you, Josh, you were in this a year ago, and you really didn't know for sure where it was going. You hit on both. So you come from, but you also have seen the bad of some of these GM and coaching hires. I can say the same. When I used to be a Jets fan too, I can even say that too. But I mean, when I was a Jets fan, they were actually decent, for the most part, for what they are. But like, they weren't absolute jack shit like they are now. But the Niners they were the last 26 years. We're split half and half in years that were really, really good and have been really, really bad. The early 2000s, the Niners, after Steve Young's having to retire, there was a couple of years with Jeff Garcia where they were really good, 02, 03. That was when Mariucci was there. They got rid of Mariucci. That went to hell. Mike Nolan was around wearing suits and shit, but they sucked. Then they sucked for a long time. They sucked for a better part of the second part of that decade. Got Harbaugh. They were great for 3 years. Won all 4 years. That fucking Balky won the power struggle, and they went and shit the bed for 3 years, and now we're here, which has had the first 4 years were lean with what do you call Shanahan and Lynch, but they got really really lucky with it in a sense that they were able to get a quarterback at that time that fit the bill. Then they were able to get Bosa for whenever he's alive, and when he is alive, he's a great player, but it isn't all the time seemingly. Hit one Super Bowl, go into tank again. They've whiffed on a lot of picks. This last draft they hit on a lot of picks, but that might be the first time in a long time that they did. The fact of the matter is there's something to speak to stability. While there are things that I can pick apart about what the Niners have done on and off the field for the last 8-9 years, whatever, at least there's stability. The Niners before that were a joke. No matter what happens on Sunday, they're not getting rid of either of those guys. The Niners have a quarterback, and Jaguars have a quarterback, and they have players on both sides of the ball. I wish I had like Trayvon Walker or Josh Hines Allen on defense. It would be great, for sure. But that's the thing. You look at these teams that are out there outside of Baltimore, which I think there's a lot of pressure to have to go and replace a guy who's won a Super Bowl, did 18 years there. Because I think John Harbaugh, I don't know if Bisciotti hired him. I think Bisciotti bought the team like a couple of years after that. I may be wrong, but it might have been a Modell hire, but it might have not been. He might have, but the fact of the matter is that's a job where there's a lot of pressure because of Lamar. You got a lot of big name players there. There's an expectation in a division that is loaded. Pittsburgh is another blue blood. Cincinnati, you're on your last licks there. There's going to be changes after next year if it goes bad. And then Cleveland, you never know because they have terrible ownership. The Raiders have terrible ownership, and they're a rudderless ship, same as Cleveland. The Jets are too, but they're not going to get rid of Aaron Glenn because they'd have to pay him $45 million. And who the hell wants to take over that roster? Because I think there's a better chance that we could run all of us in our league, in our fantasy football league, and we could have probably played for the Jets. That's how bad the Jets were the last 5 weeks of the season. And this is just on Red Zone. It's not like I'm sitting here and putting myself through watching the entire game. I've never seen such little effort as what I saw from some of these players on the Jets during those last couple of games, like the New England game, where May threw for 280 and 5 scores and only had 4 incompletions. Come on, man. It's ridiculous. And I don't know your thoughts on some of these jobs. To me, the Raiders, everyone's going to say because they get the number 1 pick, but it's the Raiders. Cleveland really doesn't have a quarterback, and there's really no answers out there, either in the draft after the number 1 pick and in free agency. And they have terrible ownership. Arizona is not great ownership, and they're in a division that 3 of the other 3 teams are in the playoffs, and one of them's the number 1 seed. So it's a really bad, and they don't have a quarterback either. Tennessee does have a quarterback and maybe a few other pieces, but not much else. Atlanta, that's a division that there's an opportunity there. I think you look, Cleveland, the Giants, they talk about it, but Jackson Dart's got he's got a suicide wish. I think every single time he runs the ball, I think he has the same mentality as Lane Kiffin, but the difference is Lane Kiffin doesn't run on the field. Even though he's a douche and he's gotten paid millions and millions of dollars, He avoids tackles, and I guess he doesn't look at social media. Jackson Dart actually has to go on the field and fight against grown men. And every time he seems to run the ball, he gets a concussion. And last time I checked, I know about that because my favorite player of all time got retired because he got like 8 trillion concussions. If you're a Cowgirls fan, you know that Troy Aikman's career ended with LeVar Arrington sending him into the freaking grandstands after however many concussions. So the notion that you're going to fade concussions and you can keep on running like balls to the wall is not a good recipe for success. So to me, if you're a Giants person, you decide to take over the Giants, you're going to have to get to that Jackson Dart and tell him, you better start sliding, motherfucker, or else you're going to get fined or whatever, because you need to actually be on the football field for it to matter. Malik Neighbors, we'll see how he comes back. Scattaboo, we'll see how he comes back. There are pieces on offense. Andrew Thomas has had issues with staying on the field. After that, they don't really have much of a. I mean, they signed John Runyon, so I guess in that sense, if you can, they have the pillars on the side. You need to get the interior of the line set up, wide receivers and running backs, adding additional pieces. Okay, defense, there are pieces on that defense. Some guys who have underperformed. Brian Burns is a really good player. Abdul Carter didn't have an amazing year and was not acting very well. So the fact is, it's an attractive job because it's in the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. It's a name franchise. They've stunk for a long time. So if you come in, they'll treat you like a god, like the way that they treat, Parcells and Coughlin, if you can win. Division is somewhat viable because, yeah, Philly is definitely there. They're the best team, even though Sirianni, I don't think very highly of him as a coach, but the guy's got a ring. And they have one of the best rosters in the league. Washington regressed. They just got rid of both of their coordinators. If it goes bad again next year, Quinn's probably going to be out the door. And then you have other stuff with other orange mongoloids hanging over that team, along with a roster that has a lot of veterans. So they have to figure out, and they need to keep Jaden Daniels on the field if they want to have anything going on. And the Cowgirls are the Cowgirls. They're there for entertainment purposes only. They're not there for actual winning. Because the last time they were winning, Bill Clinton was running for his second term. So that should tell you how long winning has been a thing for them. At least the Niners have been in a position to win. I don't know how many three presidents later, two presidents, three presidents. Well, three presidents, four presidents actually. Yeah, since. But that's, so you look at the Giants and get out of that. Keep on clicking on the wrong buttons. Yeah, but Baltimore, fundamentally to me, Lamar Jackson, you need to believe that he's the answer and he's going to play like the MVP Lamar Jackson, and that he can be a closer, which is not something he's been able to do in his career. And also, you need to be able to take a veteran-laden ball club and motivate them and fire them up, because they lost the way they lost that game on Sunday. It's going to be hard for a lot of them guys to get off the mat. They do have pieces for sure. Really good roster, one of the best rosters, I would say, and maybe that's part of the problem. Theoretically, that roster, when you look at their wide receiver core outside of Zay Flowers, they don't have nobody. Mark Andrews is washed, so they have Isaiah Likely, okay. You have Derrick Henry, but you can't be banking on. They should have been banking on him, and this would probably not be a discussion, because New England wouldn't have won that game. They win that game, they win the division. But yeah, what are your thoughts on all these jobs?
Yeah, I'll start with Baltimore. I'm actually not surprised by it, really. It's definitely a shocker, but I don't think I'm really that surprised to see that happen. I feel like, just feel like there's been rumblings of, I guess, fans being upset about how some of their games have gone, the last couple of years and never making it into the Super Bowl and everything. Just I guess they felt like it was time for a change. I'm talking to one of my friends that was a Ravens fan, and he said he felt like some of the decision making by Harbaugh has been questionable over the years and everything, and it just always seems like the Ravens, like they always have some kind of collapse, like whether it's in the playoffs or not even really a collapse, but they always fail to make it to the next stage in some way. Where there's they missed the playoffs here this year, a couple years ago, obviously AFC Championship game, and just was unable to make it a game with Kansas City, right? That they played at home. A couple years ago, 2022. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson got hurt towards the end of the season, and then they lost to the Bengals at home. 2021, they failed to qualify for the playoffs, right? And even some of the later Joe Flacco years, they just weren't really that good, or something happened to them, right? So, I mean, I think it's a surprise or a shock, but not a surprise that Harbaugh's gone. And you can even argue that maybe some of those years that they were good, that kind of carried by the coordinators that they had, especially on defense, right? Mike McDaniel has been really good. Or Mike McDonald has been really good on the Seattle Seahawks and potentially a Super Bowl contender there, right? And here Harbaugh, the defense that they've had this year, it's been atrocious in some areas. Like you saw the game on Sunday night, right? It was fairly low scoring until the fourth quarter, and then everything just went bananas in that game. The game earlier this season, Joe Flacco on the Bengals against the Ravens, or when he was on the Browns versus the Ravens, one of those two games, had a really good game there, and I think the Ravens, just super high scoring throughout, and it was just a game of Swiss cheese defense there. And the first game of the year looked like they were going to win their first game of the year, but then the Bills just came all the way back and won in overtime. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of games this year that just didn't go the Baltimore's way, and I think that all kind of has led to this firing here today for John Harbaugh. So yeah, it's pretty shocking to see it, but you look at it like you could kind of see it. Definitely can kind of see it coming for sure. There, Cleveland. I mean, I guess it was coming. Cleveland, they've had a pretty poor record over the last couple of years, but I just felt like it was always because like they had a issue with coaching, or not with coaching, but with just the players that they had. I mean, it's not Kevin Stefanski's fault that the Browns went and signed Deshaun Watson to a fully guaranteed contract that's basically hampered the team from being any good. On top of them, being injured for nearly all of that tenure, right? He was 2-time Coach of the Year and everything. So I didn't think he was ever really a bad coach, but Shedeur Sanders, I think had like one of the worst quarterback ratings of all time or QBRs in I guess since they've made that statistic, had like a 18.8 or something. So obviously very bad there. So think that one's kind of a scapegoat firing, but yeah, one of the worst quarterback situations this year. Had to start Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett was there too. So yeah, just not a really good quarterback situation. On top of Deshaun Watson being an albatross for that team there and everything. So yeah, kind of surprising there, but I guess the Browns will have to reload here. The Falcons, very interesting way to end the season. They ended the Bucks, who I think the Bucks should actually get rid of Todd Bowles, because I think there's a lot of times this year it seemed like the team regressed significantly for the Bucks, but the Falcons, funny how they were able to eliminate one team, and then they got rid of the GM and got rid of the coach. So now they look like they may be hiring Matt Ryan as a team president. So very interesting decision there to do that. But the Falcons, I mean, they've got a. I mean, I guess the mistake there was, signing Kirk Cousins to the big deal and then drafting Michael Penix. So, yeah, obviously there's an issue there, but I mean, the skill positions, right? Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts Jr. On there, Jalen Walker on defense for the Falcons. So I feel like the Falcons could be a quick turnaround, if they hire the right coach, the right people there, and everything. So that could be an interesting. I think that may because I'm looking at the article here on NFL.com. Obviously, the number one rank job opening is the Ravens. Then they have the Giants. I think the Falcons are probably of those these coaching hirings that are open now. I think the Falcons might be the sleeper team here because they low key have some pretty good pieces already there in place currently. Cardinals, I mean, Jonathan Gannon got fired. I mean, yeah, I think earlier this year when they had the choke job against the Titans, I mean, didn't he have a physical altercation with one of the players on the team? I mean, basically looked like it was the writing was over, or the writing was on the wall back then when that happened for that. So, I mean, I don't have too much to say. Obviously, they have a quarterback problem too with Kyler Murray, likely probably on his way out. Jacoby Brissett is probably a good bridge quarterback until they can find the future quarterback for that team. But yeah, I mean, that organization has not been really good either. The Titans, I mean, the Titans are just poorly run. They've been firing people for the last couple of years. Cam Ward has been really good. Jeffrey Simmons, they've got a lot of cap space, but just seems like ownership is just very, very much impatient there. The Raiders, I mean, the Raiders have been bad for years. Kind of surprised that Pete Carroll got fired after only a year. You'd think that a coach with his pedigree, with being a contender on the Seahawks, would have bought him at least another year. But I guess the Raiders are just bad all around. So I guess it didn't work out coming out of retirement for Pete Carroll, and I guess Tom Brady leading the Raiders as a minority owner, and they have the number one pick. So yeah, I don't really expect much of that one. I mean, I think the Raiders always end up hiring a retread coach anyways, so probably expect them to hire, somebody who's been around for a while and is, clearly, just there to get hired. So, the other, the Giants are interesting too, but I think, they're kind of situationally wise, at least they're always kind of on the same level as the Raiders too. So I don't, even with Jackson Dart, and all the other players that they have, I mean, it's just going to really depend on who they hire as a coach to go through. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, I mean, surprised, the Jets, you talked about it earlier, being the first team since 1933 to go without recording an interception on defense is pretty damning of itself. So, I mean, sorry for Vic and everything, having to go through that the whole year and having to root against. Maybe, like I said, maybe Vic should gamble against the Jets. Maybe that'll cure his ailment there. I did consider. I mean, last year I did mention betting against the Jaguars at least once. So, I think definitely just take the spread against the Jets every week. And at least if you want, they're going to be bad. Hey, let's at least profit off of it or something. But, I started Breece Hall every week in fantasy. I started Breece Hall, and that was a struggle. So, I probably, I think maybe only 2 or 3 weeks out of the whole season that I had him on my roster did he actually, I think, produce enough, or at least produce above his projected score. So, but obviously, my fantasy philosophy, I value running backs, especially with the way the scoring is in our league. But that whole Jets organization just dumpster fire, and it's just surprising to not see them on this list here as well. So, yeah, football's not really great, I guess, in New York right now, but hey, it's great in other cities. So, you know, should be interesting to see how, I guess, not only the coaching, but I mean, I guess some of these teams also need to fill in a general manager position. And I think that's also, those two positions kind of go hand in hand. You have, the Jaguars, obviously, they fired Trent Baalke, fired Doug Peterson. So now they brought in James Gladstone, and then they also brought in Tony Baselli back in as EVP, and Liam Cohen also. So all those guys kind of have a nucleus of decision making, and they're able to, build the team and have a certain mindset of what they want. And I think, for some organizations, probably just need to clean house and do something similar to what Jacksonville did, and hire a coach and a GM that can pair well together and have a vision for leading the franchise and all that. So sometimes it just takes a whole organization to clean itself of the stench that's been building up for years. So maybe that'll happen for the Giants. At least looks like maybe their general manager could potentially also be let go as well. So yeah, I mean, be interesting to see how all these hirings take place over the next couple of weeks, month or so. So yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and then you also, I mean, all great points, of course, and we also have some other coordinators. Detroit got rid of their offensive coordinator. Washington, as I mentioned, got let go Cliff Kingsbury and Joe Witt. Kingsbury's probably going to get looks for head coaching jobs anyway. Eberflus got canned from the Cowgirls, but I mean, that was coming. They had one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And they, John Morton there. So, yeah, those are some of the coordinators. Surprised there aren't more GMs that are out on deck, too. But there really is it like standout candidates. I think Harbaugh becomes that number one. Stefanski also gets on deck, too, all of a sudden. I think Brian Flores really should get a look, and I bet you there are a bunch of NFL owners and the league, if they're doing the right thing, and it's not about DEI, because the guy has made one of the best defenses, has coached one of the best defenses with Minnesota the last few years, and been able to do that. The notion is, I saw this couple of videos I was watching earlier, whether it's Atlanta because of connection to Matt Ryan being teammates in college, whether it's the Raiders in concert with Dable. Those are a couple of options there because, of course, Brady knows him from the Patriot days too. So both of those guys. So those are two that, and then, I mean, Bob Sala's out there, option for him. Mike McCarthy. There's a few names. I think Clint Kubiak definitely is going to get interviews for sure. Clint Kubiak. I don't know if anybody from your guys is getting calls, or a couple of people in the front office have gotten calls for the GM job in Atlanta, and I forget where else. But there's a couple, because everyone loves to go to the 49ers and take everybody from us. So it was kind of like why I was hoping McDaniel would have gotten let go, because then they would have meant like him and Bobby Slowick would have probably came back over to the 49ers. But yeah, so those are some of the people. So, all right, let us move forward, do a little bit of racing coverage here. Dakar Rally taking place, stage 3 sees Mitch Guthrie win the stage, and for Ford, and take over the overall race lead from Nasser, multi-time winner of the race, Nasser Al-Attiyah. And let's see, by 26 seconds over his pseudo teammate Martin Prokop. Ford swept the top, or no, that's the overall standings. Okay. I need to go and I mixed up that's the photos from the stage. Why can't you go and give us a freaking, I wanted to, so Dakar, there you go. Read more. Let's see if we can, performance of the day. That's not what I want. I wanted the results. Rankings. All right, so stage ranking was, that's so stupid. Car, that's 4x2, whatever, yeah. Prototype cross country, yeah. So the winner after the stage, so yeah, Mitch Guthrie won by 2 minutes 27 seconds over Martin Prokop. Guy Botterill was third. Lucas Marias for Dacia was fourth. Cristina Gutierrez for Dacia was in fifth. Nanny Roma, Carlos Sainz for Ford, sixth and seventh. Then Matteo Saradori, Matthias Ekstrom for Ford, and then Dennis Krotov for M Sport rounded out your top 10. So 5 Fords in the top 9, 2 of the Dacia Sandriders. The general ranking sees Mitch Guthrie take the lead by 26 seconds over Martin Prokop. Matthias Ekstrom is a minute 8 back. 5 Fords in the top 5. Lucas Marias is 5:16 back. Cristina Gutierrez 5:59. Nasser Al-Attiyah falls from the lead back to 11:39 back, but that's not that big of a deal for him. His teammate Sebastian Loeb is 16:50 back in 12th place. Hank Latigan, who finished second in this race last year, is 11th. Toby Price, the former winner on bikes, 16th. Leia Sanz, 18th, formerly of Extreme E. Yazid Al-Raji, the defending race winner, 19th. So there's that. Seth Quintero struggling over an hour back right now in 26th place. Did well in the stage yesterday, but having issues, probably had issues today. In the bikes category, Tasha Sharania won the stage by 2:17 over his teammate Ricky Brabeck. Daniel Sanders was 3 minutes 28 back in third. Luciano Benavides 4:30. Skylar Howes, who's is in fifth. Nacho Cornejo and Ross Branch 6th and 7th for Hero. Edgar Kinnett, the young gun for Red Bull, was 8th. Adrian Van Beveren 9th, and Michael Dougherty was 10th. The general ranking, Sanders 1 minute 7 ahead of Ricky Brabeck, 1:13 ahead of Tasha Sharania. Edgar Kinnett lost some time today, is now 8:46 back. Benavides 11:06. Ross Branch 14:56. Skylar Howes 15:41. Nacho Cornejo just touched 20 minutes and 1 second. Adrian Van Beveren and Doherty are tied for 9th, 23:26 back. In Rally 2, there's Preston Campbell for Honda. Monster Energy Honda is in third in that class. Rally Original, no, that's not there. Rookie to, okay. Original by Motul, no. Rally 2, no. Or Preston Campbell. Challenger class, right now that's Challenger class, yeah, so nobody there. Classic, no. In SSV, Brock Hager is leading the race by 43 seconds over his teammate Gonzalo Guerrero. So it's a 1-2-3 for Loeb, RZR Factory. Then American Kyle Cheney is 4th for Can-Am Racing. Hunter Miller Another American for Can-Am is in 7th. So, that's Dakar, and then, so future mission. So, and then car, and then in the stock class, Sarah Price, the Defender team is 1st, 3rd, and 4th at the moment. Rokas Bakuska leading by 28.49 over the Team Land Cruiser Ronald Basso. Stefan Petterhansel 55.47 back in 3rd. Sarah Price has won a couple of stages, won the prologue and then won one stage, but lost a ton of time in stage 1. Is 2 hours 16:45 back in 4th. That won't show. Yeah. And then, I showed Challenger, so that's whatever. F1, FIA, so. Okay. So that's that for, so keep on going. There's marathon stage on Wednesday night, or Wednesday, so that'll be interesting to see how that all goes. Formula E, let's go to Formula E. They raced in December for the first round of the season. What was it? In Sao Paulo. As a review results of that race, Jake Dennis won after starting from pole. Oliver Rowland started 13th, finished 2nd, and had the fastest lap. Nick Cassidy from 15th finished 3rd. So that Pascal Wehrlein and Nico Muller for the Porsche team finished 4th and 5th. And then, benzene, what is it? Gunther, Ericsson, Buemi, DeVries, Zane Maloney are top 10 finishers in that race. And you look at, I guess Pascal Wehrlein had provisional pole and they gave him the pole point, but then in the shootout, he got beat. I see. Okay, that's what it was. All right. So, see what happens this weekend for the Mexico City Prix. After this race, they'll be racing in at the end of the month on the 31st, so 3 weeks. They'll be at Miami. They're going to race at the Miami International Autodrome for that race, so that'll be interesting. And they're probably staying in Scottsdale. When they did it on the old Miami Street circuit in Biscayne Bay, I think. That's going way back. Wow. So that'll be the next race there. And then, Chili Bowl, bunch of Chili Bowl news came out in terms of drivers, teams. Jesse Love is going to be running in a Chili Bowl with Blake Harris and Carl, I believe, are larger. I've heard, so Tanner Burial, so, and the two, so, okay. Car entry list is over 400. Of course, Kyle Larson is going to be there along with Chris Bell. They both were part of the Tulsa shootout. Mark's return after 1 year race, driving the track to car every year, like and they take off and really try to not really much. Race on to 40 all the time. Okay. Primers, favorites, you got when I think we could talk more about that next week, because honestly you're talking about they already have the nightly lineup, so we'll talk more about that next week. Gian Piero Lambiase is back as the race engineer. Haas has moved their launch date due to too many people on the 23rd. Haas will be going on the 19th, so that'll be more for Toyota showing their new livery. Gunther's at the Nightmare Stage. Toprak Rascaglioki hailed as Casey Stoner 2.0. Alessandro Perguidi tells young drivers are considered WEC, we're closing gap to F1. Interesting. While moving to Cadillac F1 feels like going home for Guan Yu Zhou. because he's with Valtteri. 57 for he can afford it. Reveal day, Tony Stewart will be the Grand Marshal of the Chili Bowl, so that'll be cool. New Lego, Michael Schumacher F2004, and then Nigel Mansell's Williams FW14B from 1992. So, all right. So I think those are some of the things news. And NASCAR, Jumbo Casino returning 2311, Ziegler Automotive to sponsor Hurricane Hocevar, Justin Alexander, who had taken time away, I think, last year, left the box from Austin Dillon, and now he's going over to Legacy Motor Club to take over as crew chief for the 43. Ben Bayshore now is going to be the director of race engineering there. The American 250 partnership with Centennial will be this presenting sponsor for the duels, twin 125s as they used to be a long time ago. And the O'Reilly Auto Parts, Alex LeBay will be returning to race the road courses for SS Greenlight. Timmy Hill talking about running the majority of the season. The flagship number, I think the main truck, the truck that everyone's really going to be looking at this year for Ram and for Kaulig Racing is the number 12 with Butterbean Queen, and they'll be sponsored by Cummins. So, and that we talked about it offline, where throwback to back in the mid 90s at the start of the truck series, and when Petty Enterprises ran a 43 Cummins truck, and had Jimmy Ensley, another Virginia driver, there. So a lot of parallels there. So that's pretty cool. See what Butterbean can do. After winning the ARCA Championship last year, jumping into the truck series here, and I would assume would be on deck if he can have a great season to move the Cup Series soon after that. All right, Josh. Or we'll do our picks now. NFL wild card. I'll let you go first. Or we can do. I guess we can do alternate game by game. I don't know which one works best for you.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna start AFC or NFC side.
I mean, let's just do it. I guess by timing of the games, we'll just do it. We'll do the Rams Panthers first.
Sure. Yeah, Rams Panthers. I'm gonna go with the Rams here. I just think Carolina just hasn't been really good, and I think the Rams, obviously they lost to them in the regular season, and I just don't see the Rams letting that happen again.
Yeah, I agree. Rams, when they are on, are really, really good, and they've been bad these last few weeks. They weren't great for a decent amount of the game against the Arizona Cardinals. Then they switched it on. They played terrible against Atlanta, then came back. So, I mean, I guess there's that. You can switch it on and off. It almost seems like what Philly does too. But now it's the playoffs. There's a difference. You can't do that sort of thing. The thing that's in their favor is that Carolina's offense is basically a sieve if they can't get Tet McMillan the ball. And then if they can't get the running game going either, that Dowdle, if he's not able to make things happen and McMillan's not able to make things happen, they're pretty easy to stop. And Carolina's even all right. I'll say they're not bad, but good luck stopping Puka Nacua. And supposedly Devontae Adams is coming back this week too. So yeah, good luck. Packers and Bears. They rested a bunch of starters. The Packers. They've been scuffling recently. The Bears lost that game late to Detroit. But I mean, I don't know who's really playing for Green Bay. I mean, they do have issues on defense. The Bears have been playing with fire all year. But I honestly think they get through this one. and then probably get humbled next week. But honestly, I think the Bears get through. I would love for Green Bay to show out and somehow or another knock them off, which would then, open a door for the 49ers to end up possibly playing the Rams, and if they were to go and do that, but if the Niners were to win. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough because Chicago's playing at home, and they've had a bunch of home comebacks throughout the season. So they've gotten really, really lucky or fortunate, I guess, in a lot of these games this year. And Green Bay, they've also been in a bunch of high-scoring games this year as well. So I feel like, this one could easily go either way for these teams. And I mean, Jordan Love's been hurt. I mean, they lost 4 in a row to end the year. So yeah, that's not really good. And plus they tied with the Cowboys. So yeah, this team's just been off here the last month or so. You could argue that they should have won the Broncos, should have won the Bears game, right? Jordan Love was hurt in the Ravens game, and then the last game is kind of whatever. But it seems like they've just been obviously don't have any real momentum behind that team. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Chicago here.
Yeah, I just decided to look up the injury report, and I mean, they don't list, as of now, they don't list Jordan Love on it. So I guess that means he's playing limited participation for Willis, for Dontavian Wicks, John Williams or guard, Zach Tom a tackle, Bo Melton did not participate in practice, a corner, but Matthew Golden full participation, so he'll probably be playing. Edgerrin Cooper limited, Javon Bullard, CJ Gardner-Johnson did not participate, and I read something like he got arrested, but which isn't surprising because he's an idiot. But they have a couple other guys, limited participation, a couple corners, DJ Moore and Roma Dunze, limited participation versus Odunze hasn't been playing recently. Be a good time for him to do so. Braxton Jones at tackles has full participation. Ozzy Trapilio limited participation. So that could be something to look at in terms of the offensive line. Those are the only ones that they listed. Wow, interesting. Because I guess, because it's Saturday. All right, you have to list 4 days before. So I guess there'll be injury reports coming out for the rest of these games as they get closer to them. Next game, Bills and Jaguars, and I think we know where you're going.
Yeah, Jaguars. I don't think I need to explain anymore, but
Yeah.
I did talk to a friend or coworker at work, and they're a Bills guy, and they're saying playoff experience matters and everything, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, like Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator on the Bucks, like they made a pretty good run the last year in the playoffs. He was on the Rams when they won the Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence. Obviously 2022 playoff comeback against the Chargers, so he has playoff experience, and they still have I think half the players on that team from that team on the current roster now. So you got Eric Armstead, obviously, I mean, playoff experience with the 49ers. I mean, what are you talking about? So yeah, I think maybe as they presently are, no, they haven't been in the playoffs, but until now, but I mean, I don't think having playoff experience, like they're saying, well, Josh Allen's the most experienced playoff quarterback in the field. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything to me. So, or the AFC, because you have, Aaron Rodgers, but I guess in recent memory, right? But yeah, I don't think that means anything. So yeah, Jags.
While I am a Josh Allen fan, and I think there's a lot of pressure on him, being that there's no Kermit, there's no Burrow, Lamar, et cetera. The team's really bad. They showed it against the Eagles when they couldn't finish the job there in that game. There's other games this year where, I mean, they came back. They had to come back against the Patriots, and they were down big. He's the reality is he's not going to win MVP, and we're going to talk about another person that probably should be in the mix for the MVP. But yeah, if they didn't have Josh Allen playing at the level that he was, even which is lesser than what he, not to his best, even in some cases, I don't even think we're talking about the Bills being in the playoffs anyway. So, and you're going against one of the best defenses in the NFL and the Jaguars. With that offense, which the Buffalo Bills haven't stopped anything, it's a bad draw, unfortunately for the Bills. But yeah, I mean, for the benefits of this show, obviously too, it's good for Jaguars to still be around, but yeah, Jags. I figure I don't know what the spread is, but I feel like they'll not only cover, but they'll probably win by double digits.
Jags or Bills are favored by 1.5 right now.
That's funny.
Yeah, the Jags are 1.5 dogs at home, so
that's funny. That's literally bias on Josh Allen. That's literally what that is. Yeah, 4:30 49ers and the Eagles. I want to will this somehow or another. I want to be positive. I read Jeff Chadia's article ranking everybody, and the Niners are underneath the Eagles in that ranking. The Eagles are widely inconsistent. Their offense is insane to me. I don't understand anything that goes on with that offense. I really don't get how Sirianni. I don't get Sirianni either. Their fan base is their fan base. That's a whole other. And some of their marks and TV that are morons that talk about the Eagles is like shut the hell up. They just hate Brock Purdy, I think, is as much as anything. If Trent Williams isn't out there, they're not winning that game. It's as simple as that. They barely have anybody on defense. They don't have any. They have one linebacker. Their defensive line's decimated, and it wasn't like they were playing amazing as it is. I want to be proven wrong, and I'm willing to be proven wrong, and it's fine. I think the Eagles win this game. I just don't see how Brock can get on a heater of all heaters somehow. Then God bless. I'll take being wrong. I don't care. It's fine. I've been wrong plenty of times in life. But I don't know where the hell they're going to pull this one out of. They've been doing it all year, but last week just really was humbling. So I have a hard time believing it. They're going to get off the mat and come back and beat the Eagles in Philly. It's been they did it the last time after the terrible NFC Championship game debacle. They went back there like the next year and destroyed the Eagles, and then made a run to the Super Bowl, but it's not the same situation right now. What say you, Josh?
I'm going to pick the 49ers. I know it seems tough, but I know the Eagles are also just weird as a team this whole year. Like we saw the Monday night game against the Chargers, where just historically bad in terms of turnovers for Jalen Hurts. Their Saquon's been good, but and they do have potential threats in AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, but I don't know. The Eagles are just like probably the weirdest team in the NFC, because it's like, one game they look like they're the best team, and then we have like 3 or 4 weeks where it's like, okay, well, what are they even doing? Like it's like we said earlier, like, how did this team even win the Super Bowl last year? And I think as they go along, the tush push, I think teams are starting to figure it out, and not that they're not going to keep trying it, and I can't say if San Francisco could stop it, but definitely feel like that the tush push will probably be tried less in this game for some reason. So I don't know. It's going to be tough, but I think the 49ers can pull it off on the road here.
I'm glad you have more confidence in them than I do. It's just hard after last week. Not because I want to, and believe me, maybe that's when I just have to go against it and but my pick is simply based on one thing. It's based on Trent Williams. Up and until I know if Trent Williams is going to play, I can't pick them because I know their record without Trent Williams is absolutely atrocious. Um, and their record without George Kittle is not, is nowhere near as bad, but it's not great. He'll be healthier this week, so that's a positive, but we'll see what happens. Patriots, Chargers having to go cross country, but it's an 8 o'clock game. It'll be cold, so it's an outdoor game. Basically a showcase for Drake May. So I think, did I go first on that one? Yeah, I went first on that one, so that'll be you this time.
Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting game. I think. Yeah, the Chargers have had a really good defense. This year. Obviously, they were in position to win against the Houston Texans, and then, despite being playing the backup quarterback, they were in the game for a good part of the game against the Broncos because of the defense. So I think the defense can keep them in this game in New England. So it's gonna be a tough game, but I'm gonna say that that's the playoff upset of the weekend here. So I just think the Patriots, they played a weak schedule the whole year. They haven't really. Maybe I just haven't had a ton of games that I've watched from them. I think I watched the Monday night against the Giants, and then the Sunday night game against the Ravens, which that was a close game, and then they did win that. And that was had some interesting calls in that one. But I actually think the Chargers can go in here to New England and pull off an upset win as the 7 seed wild card going up against what a lot of people thought was going to be the number 1 seed. So it's going to be interesting. But and Drake Mays, I guess, played at a MVP quality this year, but obviously they've been hurt. The Chargers been hurt. They haven't, they've had some offensive miscues. The games that Justin Herbert has played in, like we mentioned with the Eagles game and that one Texans game. But if they can get the running game going and in the cold, and they can play defense pretty well, I like their chances against the Patriots here. So yeah, I'll pick New England, or I'll pick LA here.
Yeah, I figure that the jig will be up, kind of like with Chicago. I don't think it happens this week. I think it'll happen in divisional round. And it's not, I think when you talk about that defense, they don't have a great pass rush, New England Patriots, but this defense, if you're able to go and zone out and take away, Keenan Allen, McConkey, who basically didn't exist most of this year. They do have the one deep threat with Johnston, but they do have a really good secondary. I think their back end arguably is one of the best, well coached. Offense, two-headed running back monster there. Wide receivers unknown really, other than Stephon Diggs, of course. They do have some tight ends. May wanting to prove that he's not the schedule. It'll be a close game, and Harbaugh. I'll always be a fan of Jim Harbaugh, but I think enough because their offensive line, the Chargers' offensive line, is so bad. They're gonna have a hard time holding up. I think that's where the difference will lie. And if they have to put in Trey Lance, forget it. I think that's where it really comes around. But I think the Patriots get through this week, and then when they have to play your Jags or whoever, I think that'll be where the jig really comes up there. But one more to go is the Monday Night Football. Will be Pittsburgh hosting Houston. Could be the last game of Aaron Rodgers' career. Could be the last game that Mike Tomlin coaches as a Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. Houston we keep on talking defense. It's interesting. We talk about this league with offense and points and all this stuff. A lot of this has been on defense. The two number one seeds are two of the best defenses in the league. We brought up a lot of these teams have great defenses. When it comes down to it, it's possible, and you know this because you've had to face them twice. Could say the AFC South might have two of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. Definitely two of the top 10. And then you count Seattle's in there, you count, Denver's, with that too. I mean, if Houston can figure out something on offense, their offense has not been great all year. I don't know what happened to CJ Stroud after his rookie year. But yeah, he only likes to throw to Nico Collins, but it's like, if they can figure out anything, I mean, anything, I have a hard time understanding how they don't make a big run. Pittsburgh needed the hand of God and everything, needed Loop to shank a field goal. There's Steelers, everything. If they decide to run no huddle, I'll say this. If they decide to allow Aaron Rodgers to just go and run the game no huddle, I'd be like, oh yeah, sure, they have a way better shot. But they're going to huddle. And then they're going to have DK. The one thing I will say, I'm picking Houston, but there's one difference maker. If DK Metcalf goes out there and goes scorched earth and just gets pissed, just gets really pissed and decides he wants to baptize people, that could be the one thing, because DK Metcalf is that kind of guy, and he's never had that moment in the playoffs, so to speak. And he could make his whole name. He could go and make himself a statue because it's friggin' Pittsburgh. That's where you become a great. And when you consider that franchise, that's the only thing, really. Calvin Austin had a huge game last week, and he is an X factor for sure. But because Stingley is going to be with DK Metcalf, I'm sure the whole game. But I think Freiermuth is going to have to play big if they're going to have a chance. Their running backs are going to have to play big. But I just don't see it. I don't see it against that defense. Houston's defense is insane. I honestly wish I wish we had the Houston defense with the Niners offense, and then this wouldn't be a discussion right now. Because the Niners, even with the makeshift people they have on this offense, had one of the better offenses in the NFL. And you have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And one of the 3 best running backs, who's an MVP candidate and should be an MVP candidate. But, another 49er, well, makes sense, another 49er guy. And D'Amico Ryans. But, yeah, I'm taking Houston. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers have been up and down all year. And then obviously it's going to come down to the wire. And I thought that Baltimore was going to kick that field goal and win the game, and then wide right. So, the one thing I'll say about Aaron Rodgers is that, he is a veteran quarterback, and, maybe as a veteran, he will be able to decipher the Houston defense better than some of the quarterbacks that they've faced on defense. So there may be that advantage, but there's also the fact that their offense has been one of the I won't say the worst, but it's definitely been at least I was watching that game before the fourth quarter. There's definitely a lot of questionable offensive play calling through the first 3 quarters. So it's going to be tough for Houston or for Pittsburgh to try to win that game. So and their defense has just been awful the whole year. They have one of the most expensive defenses in the league, but they've been playing terribly. So they might actually make CJ Stroud look actually good. And Houston's rushing offense is not great, but it definitely could have a chance here. So yeah, I'll have to go with Houston here for this next game. So be interesting here on a Monday night game. Of course, they may the way the game goes, they may milk the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, and Aaron Rodgers gets another game here. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I think it makes the most sense to say that the the Texans win here on Monday night.
So we'll see what happens with that, and we'll talk about it on episode 298, next episode of the GSP. But before we go, Josh, let us know all things going on iRacing Gaming in the Sim segment.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it quick here, but I mean, yeah, Rolex 24 on iRacing here in 2 weekends. So, yeah, do some practice hot lapping here. Get some practice in the next couple of weeks. Should know who my teammates are soon, so looking forward to that. So just hopefully get enough time, after work and in the seat, and yeah, just try to be competitive enough and go through it. So just all about survival and being able to last throughout the race and put yourself in position to be there at the end. So just got to mind ourselves through traffic. I haven't looked at the weather yet, but, kind of hopefully we don't have rain be in the forecast. I think I was just in the split that iRacing featured rain in. And I guess I got to look at the real Rolex. I mean, I think the real Rolex, there is a factor of rain this year, so that's going to suck. But I guess we'll see how the rain plays out here and on the sim. So guessing I have to get some rain practice in as well. So should be interesting though. But yeah, LMP2 class again. So looking forward to competing in that and seeing how that goes, and navigating through traffic and everything like that. So yeah, we'll stream that once that comes up at UCLR2 on Twitch, of course. So yeah, of course, closing the show, of course. Yeah, the Twitter page at JP Helpline, of course, and then the YouTube channel at Gripster Podcast, and then of course photography page Josh Helpline Photography, of course. So yeah, I mean, exciting end of the NFL season, and certainly on the verge of a playoff run here for hopefully both our teams here. So yeah, excited, and hopefully next week we'll have more good stuff to talk about.
We definitely will have stuff to talk about. Hopefully it is positive for both of our teams for sure. And we'll see that. Definitely talk about that. We'll lead into that Rolex. I'm competing in a endurance 2.4 hour on AC with GT3s at Daytona, which will go in basically 10 times the time, so it'll go through the whole entire race. I'm not sure who I'll drive with that, but we'll see what happens. That'll be in a couple of weeks, pre-birthday week there. Find us, Gripster Podcast YouTube page. Find the audio feed GSP1428. You can find me at PGMGSP28 on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, PGMatthew28. Find the Gripster Podcast at philipgmatthew.com and on podbean.com. So for that, for Josh, I'm Phil. Enjoy the football, and we'll see you next week.